Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make fluffy donuts. These donuts are so spongy. I have another recipe on the channel, but this is an updated version. Look at just how spongy and soft these donuts are. Okay, so to make the donuts you're going to need 500 grams all-purpose flour, 75 grams sugar. I'm going to list the ingredients, and I'm using just normal sugar, 1 egg yolk. Then these are vanilla donuts, so I'm using vanilla essence. I'm using clear vanilla, but you can use the dark one. Then we also have warm milk. This is 300 ml. And then we have a margarine. You can also use butter, and we have instant yeast. You're going to start off, I'm using a stand mixer, so you're going to start off by adding the dry ingredients. So that's the all-purpose flour into the mixer, the sugar, and then you're also going to add the instant yeast. If you don't have a stand mixer, you can use your hand, or you can also just use a hand mixer. I also added vanilla and the egg yolk, and then now we're just going to mix all that together before we add the milk. Ensure you give that a good mix, and then you're going to add the milk bit by bit. Ensure your milk is warm and not hot. If it's hot, it's going to kill the yeast and your donuts are not going to rise. Warm milk just fasten the process of it activates the yeast, so your dough will rise faster compared to you using cold milk. Then you're just going to mix that until it becomes smooth for, let's say, about 5 minutes at most. If you're using your hands, this is going to take a bit longer, so prepare yourself for some elbow grease. After that, you're going now to add our margarine, 60 grams margarine, or you can use butter. If you're using butter, ensure it's softened so that you can easily incorporate into the dough. Then we're going to switch the mixer back on and allow that to mix for the margarine to fully incorporate. If you're using your hands, this process is a bit messy, so you can dust your surface a bit, but don't overdo it with the flour, because then you're going to mess the texture of the donuts. The end results for the dough, you're going to have a very soft dough. So when you're using a mixer, when your mixture is looking like that, it means it's still not ready, so it needs to pull away from the sides of the mixer bowl. Then you know it's ready. So after this, you're going to allow the dough to rise or proof, and that's just doubling in size. So I usually prefer adding a bit of oil just to prevent the dough from not getting some skin while it's rising, but this is optional. So I usually add a little oil and just ensure the dough is covered. And then we're going to cover with cling film. You can also cover with a cloth. And then we'll put the dough in a warm place to rise. If you want to fasten this process, you can switch on your oven, the lowest heat, and then you put your dough in there. If the heat is high, it's going to kill the yeast, and then of course your donuts, when you're cooking them, they will not rise. So ensure that it's on the lowest heat. So this took about 30 minutes. The dough had doubled in size. Then you're going to deflate the dough like so. And now we are ready to divide. So I'm just going to dust my surface with some flour, and then we're going to put the dough on the surface. Because I used really less flour when I was making the dough was a bit sticky. But if your dough is sticky, you can apply some oil on your hands, and then that will make it easy for you to handle the dough. Or you can also knead the dough a bit with some flour, but don't overdo it. You'll end up with dry donuts. So now we're just removing the air from the dough before we start dividing. I prefer using a digital weighing scale or a weighing scale to divide the dough so that the donuts are all the same size. I feel like they look better that way instead of having one big one, another small one, another medium one. Then because the dough is sticky, we are going to place them on greaseproof paper. I just cut them into smaller bits. This will make it easy for us to handle the dough when you are putting the individual donuts, when you're putting them in the oil. Then I'm just going dusting the greaseproof paper so that the dough does not stick on the greaseproof paper. Yeah, so for the donuts, I usually do 60 grams per donut. You can do smaller, you can do bigger. They're your donuts, so you decide what size you want. But for me, I usually do 60 grams. As you can see, the dough is sticky. I don't know why I didn't remember to just oil my hands, but yeah, I continued that way. So you divide the dough into individual donuts. Then now we're going to shape them. And so after you've divided all the dough, now we're going to shape them, and I'm just using the palm of my hands on a dusted surface to form the dough into a smooth ball. I'll show you guys a close up. When you're forming the dough, ensure you're applying a bit of pressure so that it becomes rounded and smooth. If your dough is sticky, yeah, definitely oil your surface, and also dust your surface, and you can also oil your hands to make it easier for you to handle the dough. So this recipe, when I divided it into 60 grams each, gave me about 17 donuts. So of course you might get less or more depending on how big you divide your donuts to. Then after dividing all the donuts and laying them on the individual greaseproof paper that's been dusted, we are going to flatten. the donuts. This just makes it easier for us to of course gives them that shape, and also makes it easier for us to form that donut hole. You can cook them the way they are right now if you want. So I dusted with flour on top just so that they don't stick when I'm pressing them, and also they don't stick to my nozzle that I'm going to use to cut out the hole. So I'm just using a nozzle, piping nozzle. If you do not have a piping nozzle, you can use anything that's round and small to cut out the donut hole. So if you've dusted your greaseproof paper and also your donut on top sufficiently, they're not going to stick. Your nozzle or whatever you're using is not going to stick when you're cutting out. So you're just going to cut out all the donut holes. Then we are going to cover them and allow them to rise again. If you deep fry them right now, you're not going to get that light and fluffy donut. So please allow them to rise and double in size, and that's gonna take the time is going to vary depending on how cold or how hot the weather is and how your kitchen is. Then you're going to deep fry them in medium hot oil. If your oil is too hot, they're going to burn and they're not going to cook well. So ensure your oil is medium hot. And now you see the greaseproof paper is helping us to be able to add them to the oil. Then once they're browned, you're going to turn them and brown the other side as well. I prefer them golden brown and not anything darker than that. And then after that, you're going to remove them from the oil once they're brown both sides, and look at how good they look. And these donuts are so soft, they're so fluffy. This is an updated version of my previous recipe that's already on the channel. So please try it out and let me know how you find them. You can glaze this or you can have them as is.